So for this video, like I did with a previous video from my other channel that I'm doing for this channel, as you can see by the title, are we going to get another second round of a stimulus check, or depending how I'll title this, but it does have a conversation to do with two things actually. My thoughts on, are we going to get the second stimulus check, and also talking about jobs, because some states and some things that I've noticed with jobs from the past, decade, and even going in from the last, I guess, almost 5 years, when it comes from, working and things out of that nature, when it comes to, payments and where we are now. So my thoughts on the second round. Now, I think it was a month or so back, the first half of the bill for the second round of stimulus checks, that part passed, that part's been signed. A lot of us saw that. And so a lot of people thinking, okay, so, when are we going to get them? When are we going to get them? And we have, September, October, November, December. So we got 4 months left of this year. And a lot of us can't wait for this year to be over with, because, it's just been a hard year, rough year, strange and weird year for everyone in so many different ways, from health and financial, the most, and living. And yes, they've got 4 months left, but that's like a long 4 months. So a lot of people are wondering, okay, so when is it going to be sent out? What's taking it so long? And, there are steps to this. It has to literally go through Congress. There has to be, of course, a lot of sit-downs, a lot of meetings, on Republican, Democrat, and Independent. And, all three sides have been hit hard this year. You would think it wouldn't be a discussion, just to do it. But some sides are going to see things, differently. And, one part of that is going into, how much money is the United States in debt in? And a lot of people's like, well, can't you put that money towards something else, right? Before COVID hit, we were about to be into another war. And people need to realize, before you and I were born, before our parents were born, before our parents were born, for so many decades, the United States of America, even when it was becoming the United States of America, was always in debt. It was always in debt. Always. And that's from building, which is construction. You have people that, want jobs, so you got to pay workers. And then you try to make some money back, so they're going to come up with some things in terms of loans, landlords, banks, and even prisons and jail systems from back then and even now. Because if you don't know, some of your main government jobs like that, what I just mentioned, pull in a lot of money for the United States. So money is going to be always going to a circle, as in recycle, goes through places that print out money, that produce it. You have money with other countries that we have to break bread with in order to get goods in. That costs money. They pay us as well. So money's coming in. The U.S. is always going to be in debt as a country. There's money, right? The money has to be spread around, and some people are going to lose out. Yeah, most definitely more than others. That's guaranteed to happen. And I understand, sometimes, you ain't put into the best financial positions and it becomes scarce, so you need an extra hand. But there's always a string to pull to that extra hand. I always write about the first string with the first round. They're already telling taxpayers, man, you gotta pay that back. Man, you gotta pay that back. We all gotta pay it back. So this year, with a lot of money coming out of people's checks, that's because we're paying back the first hand of the first half of that first round of that stimulus check. Then come to filing tax time next year, all right, that's the first full half. And then all throughout next year, with money being took out of our checks, we're going to be paying back the second round. And then around 2022 in tax season, we're paying back the second part of that second round of that check. So, of course, there's strings attached. Now, both parties cannot come to a decision. Obviously, they can't come to a decision. So, what they decided to do is go on quote unquote summer break, right? Yeah, they're doing this to stall. They're doing this because they want to save as much money as possible, because they're not hurting. They're not hurting. So when are they going to come back to it? The last date, from what I know of, and of course, they can change it, but the last sit-down date, the last final discussion, the last final sign-off for the second round, right before it goes into full action, is on September 8th, which is next month. I believe it's going to happen because that money, I ended up getting mine, from the first round, and I never thought I did. I never thought I was going to, but I did. I saw, $1,000 and what was it, $200 or something like that. I mean, that's how I'm gonna read it as, because that's what it is. But I guess you could say it's like $1,200 is the right term. But to me, it's really $1,200 if you really look at it like that. Because you got like 1,000, then add like 200 to that. So, that's how it's really looked at. But, I did get the $1,200. And, I put that towards payments, getting things caught up. And with money that was left, I managed to be able to enjoy myself, to be able to get some things. And, again, that the money comes of use. I do believe the second round will happen. Now, a lot of people are going to have questions. So, this is where we get into the uneven advantages at. So the people that work, who got theirs because they filed for taxes from 18 to 19 of 2 years ago, even in terms of filing from this year, people are going to have questions. Are we going to get a second one? No, you guys are not, because you guys have not filed for new taxes for this year. Which means those who work, who have filed, are going to be left out. Now, you are going to have the people that have no job who live below Section 8. There is a below Section 8, like we talked about. They're going to receive a minimum of $600. If you are collecting unemployment, you are going to receive another stimulus. However, people on unemployment just got more pay because not only they were collecting $500 every month from unemployment, but now they get an extra $300 on top of that. So they're getting around, what, 7, 8, 9? I believe, no, 6, 7, 8, $800 on top of that. So they'll be receiving, a second round plus, what did I say, $800 in unemployment. Job cuts have decided to cut more people's pay. They also decided to get rid of second and third shifts at jobs. So a lot of workers right now are going to be hit. Another people that are going to be getting them are going to be people that collect Social Security Disability or SSI. Any type of Social Security beneficiaries will get a second one. And people are going to probably wonder, okay, how are they going to do it this time? They're going to do it like the last time. If you signed up for direct deposit through their little online platform, you'll get yours through your account. But if you didn't sign up for it, you'll get it in the mail. So, I'm not going to say how I got mine. But, once it passed, because I believe it will pass fully on the 8th, I hope it will go into action quicker, because the holidays are coming up. You got Christmas coming up right now. And I guarantee you a lot of families are depending on that money. A lot of families right now are definitely trying to take on the extra work, if not going to be looking for extra work soon, trying to get more shifts in, so you can give your kids a Christmas, things like that. So once that passes on the 8th, I hope that at least middle of January, it will go to being sent out really fast. Because when they send out the first round, they went by alphabetical order in terms of last name. So mine starts with an N, so it's like way down there in the alphabet. But with, not so many months left of this year, I hope that it does get sent out really quick for everybody, I hope so. I hope that's the case. With that part being said, now we get on with jobs and, the terms of jobs when it comes to payments and just how backwards they all became now when it came to getting paid. So, a long time ago, you could say the first jobs in this country when it came to everybody wanting to work was construction. Construction, once upon a time, didn't pay very well. Construction, when it comes to tearing down and building, didn't pay very well. You couldn't just go home at the end of the day. You had to stay at the work site when they had tents back then. People were living out in tents. You would have to rely on strangers to help out in terms of some type of money, or even to trade for goods and even health as well, like first aid. As time went on, construction till this day pays good, but they don't treat their workers as good. Just like when it goes into the factory workers, which is around one of the second jobs that started in the U.S. Factory workers were getting paid very little. Their unions that tied into construction as well, they didn't pay their workers good. They didn't treat their workers good. And a lot of foreign immigrants, foreign families, worked at these jobs. So the union had to change because the mafia got involved, and the mafia made sure if there was money coming in, making sure if one of these families got hurt, that they would get a good payout. Now, within today's time, a lot of construction and factory workers are losing money. There's a large sum of pay cuts. So construction and factory workers, man, even in terms of plant workers, ain't really getting paid nothing. A lot of shifts are getting cut. So they're making below now minimum wage. So within the past decade, right? Even half of that decade, so we want to take about 6 years from that, are getting paid below minimum wage. Not the best job to have. Yes, once upon a time in the 80s and the 90s, even in terms by the early 2000s, from 2000 to around 2010, right? Maybe take 2 years off, so 2008, right? Plant, construction, and factory workers, those time frames that I gave, were making bank once upon a time. Once upon a time. Well, now they don't, so it's not the best job to really go for. I understand it's the easiest job to get, but you ain't gonna be seeing no pay now, and it's been like that now for the past 6 years. Hell, even for us going into 5 years. You got car washes that are paying better than those jobs are for younger people to help them with rent, even if they're even in school. So a car wash pays more than construction and factory and plant workers these days, right? People sometimes want to shoot for the next job, which is teaching. The school system has money. I shared my experiences with that so many times, so I really don't want to go into that story again. But the school system, it's a scam. It is. It's a scam. Again, I shared my story, how I worked for the school and what my job was, and to shorten up that part of the story, when I was delivering and stamping books, I went to the storage garage. That's where they were, so I had to put them and unload them. And let me tell you, the money that our parents paid from registration, book fee money, lunchroom, or lunch money, fundraiser, snack machine money, the school board, the school system scams us so much that they're just buying new shit with it that's been sitting in these storage offices for years, boxes that are not even open. Not even open. So because of that, right, is why they're so easy to, rebuild schools, but in terms to underpay their teachers, and it's always been like that. So it's not the best job to even have. Hell, the kids are teaching themselves nowadays. So, the next jobs, right, in terms of firefighters and emergency calls, firefighters and ambulance trucks, right, within those fields, they're getting paid more. But it's a firefighter right now is getting paid more than a lawyer. They're getting paid more than a lawyer. Right now, a lot of firefighter firefighters themselves have been out of work because of the pandemic. So there's not a lot of reports right now. So they're able to go home. But right now, they took a huge hit in terms of payments. So now it's no longer getting paid more than a lawyer. On top of that, it's a job where you have to be single. You can't be married, no children, because you're not going to be home. But right now, a lot of these firefighters, who either have a place to go or don't, they took a huge hit. So right now, it's not a good job, even in terms of going into firefighting. Ambulance trucks right now, for people that kind of work in the lower part of the medical field, kind of like people who work for NHC and just regular nurses, they getting paid more than doctors in this state. Yeah, if you look into it, within the state, doctors are barely even hitting minimum wage pay. So nurses, those are 3 different levels, such as people from ambulance trucks to NHC workers to regular nurses, are getting paid more than doctors. And that's why a lot of, women or females that I've seen in my lifetime, start out, with that type of job, in school for training, go for it, after school, go to schooling for it as well. And they get their experience out there on the field, and, after they, finish up their course with that, they already have a job, right? So within the first 6 months of their career, they're making good money, so they're making bank. They're able to get one of those big, nice, huge apartments because their jobs can afford it. They're able to get a good vehicle, really nice vehicle, because in this state of Tennessee, nurses get paid more than doctors. Doctors are getting paid the minimum wage. My brother-in-law, who's a doctor assistant, was trying to find something down here. So those who don't know what a doctor assistant is a surgical assistant when it comes to doing operations and surgeries. They're paying them, along with the doctors, below minimum wage here in the state of Tennessee. That's why you hear nobody about being doctors. Not even in this past damn decade. Other states, when it comes to medical field like that, in terms of, assistant surgeons and doctors, right, are paying them below minimum wage. Some, and very little states will actually pay them how they should be getting paid, which is good money, which is high money. So, nurses, even ambulance truck, nurses, I'm just going to say that, ambulance truck nurses are paid more than doctors. Even as far as getting paid more than your next job, which is lawyers. Lawyers, right now, ain't got nothing going on. A lot of courts are not opening. So they took a huge loss. They took a huge hit. Keep in mind, when all this stuff started, law enforcement, medical, and, the law field, they were turning a blind eye to crime, turning down people who got injured, turning down health, turning down appointments, because they were seeing $1,000 or so during the pandemic when they were shutting down jobs, not having people go on lockdown, and these fields, when it came to the high paid, from the doctors and the lawyers and even cops, right, in terms of sheriffs, they didn't care what was going on because they were actually receiving $1,200 every 2 weeks. This was documented, this was proven, this was shown. But now that things are trying to get back to normal, and things took so much of a hit, and a lot of, jobs just did not survive. So now their pay cuts are cut very low. Which goes into the next job, which is law enforcement, such as a regular cop, CO, and sheriff make more than a lawyer does at this time. See, that's where they're hiring. If you take a look at the next job that does make more, makes more every year than most of these jobs combined, right? Is a garbage man. A garbage man gets paid how much a year? $45,000 in total. You know how much they see back in tax returns? Yeah, quite a few of that. Quite a few. Quite a few. So from that, you got to ask yourself, man, just jobs that you think they are going to pay more, going to be worth it. And then you find out, man, you ain't even really seeing nothing. And then jobs that you think that aren't going to pay more, you actually do see money. I used to work in a factory once, and as horrible as those people were behind closed doors, I was making good pay. Now, if that job was still around, even though the same staff of supervisors don't work there anymore, which that's a good thing, and if they had a whole new, supervisors and stuff there, yes, then I would go back to an old job just for the money. So it's really something, even in terms of mechanic work right now, that's not even a job to really be considered into, because you're getting paid less than a damn teacher in that field, man. You're getting paid less than a teacher in that field. So you really got to consider, what jobs, one can go for. Me, my decision, my mind's made up. I'm leaving next year, so there's no work down here in this state, and it's not a good state at all. I don't recommend any people even living down here, because you're gonna see how fast and how miserable you become, and then when it comes to your work, like, God, why'd I move here? I ain't making nothing. I was making more back at home. What was I thinking? But then once you try to make the move back, man, you're already tied into something else. So you really got to think. And I already shared my my story, my reason why, when it comes to trying to work or get a job, reason why I can't, because down here they care about education in terms of if you have a diploma, from high school diploma to your college degree, stuff like that, which I have absolutely none of that at all. So with that being said, do I think the second round stimulus checks are going to happen? Most certainly, yes. I do believe so. I hope that they do get sent out quick, because we ain't got that long to go before this year's out. And when it comes to jobs, if you're in a state like this, man, save your money and move, because you ain't gonna find nothing down here. That being said, I'm out.